and with whom I have to enjoy to live. And in order to do that, I have to understand him, and he has to understand me. And in order for us to understand each other, we have to communicate freely so that we know what the other thinks, because we are not uniform. We are here on the panel, we are 7 persons, and each of us has specific ideas, specific opinions, specific background. If we do not have the freedom of expressing ourselves, then the alternative is for us to fight, and nobody listens to anybody. So the freedom of expression is not a Western value only. I think it's a universal value, and we have to learn in our countries to respect freedom of expression. This is the first rule. The second rule, I think, is where does this freedom of expression stop? Some people believe that it should have no limit. I tend to believe that it needs to regulate itself in a way that allows the expression of the ideas of the other to come out, to be aired. If I refuse for the other his right to have a different opinion, then I do not deserve to have an opinion at all. Nobody holds the absolute truth. Nobody holds the absolute wisdom. So the freedom of expression is a value that is essential, but it should be on the understanding that as I want my freedom of expression to be expressed, I have to accept that others have different opinions. This is the essence of life together. This is the essence of communities. A community is, I think, the addition of different opinions, of different expressions, and this is democracy. This is democracy. This is building future together. But what about the respect of the other? Does this mean that I have to accept the creed of the others? Does this mean that I have to accept the opinions of the other? I don't believe so. Otherwise, this will be a total negation of the freedom of expression. People would have to be conventional. People would have to agree with each other, which is an impossible task to ask for anybody. So my freedom of expression should be accompanied by the respect of different opinions. Respect, and respect is a key word, because I should not denigrate opinions of others. I should not vilify what they believe in. I think I should allow them to have their own opinion. I should have my own opinion, and then dialogue is established between both. And without dialogue, there can be no living together. There can be no building a better world together. I think what we have seen is the call for an absolute freedom of expression and an absolute respect of the other. Nothing in life is absolute. I think everything is relative. But knowing that, we should find a way to recognize the other, to recognize as one of the Islamic ulama said, that my opinion is true, but I believe my opinion is true, it may be wrong, and I believe your opinion is wrong, but you may be right. This is the basis on which dialogue should be established. This is the basis on which understanding can be established. This is the whole idea of our meeting today. We are of different opinions. We are entitled to express our opinions, but in a manner that is not wounding the sensitivities of the other. This is what I wanted to start with. I wanted to put what I think in perspective and say that if we abide by this understanding, then nobody will be offended, and we will not see crisis as the crisis we have seen. It was a crisis of freedom of expression and a crisis of respect of the other. And if we do combine these two ideas in a manner that does not prevent freedom of expression and does not touch respect or harm the respect for each other, then we can together, West and East, It is not true that never the twain shall meet. I believe that there is a way to meet, there is a way to disagree, there is a way to live with each other and to build together a world of understanding, because only through this world will the future be better for all of us. Thank you very much.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed Maher, for this enlightened speech. And right, you are. It's not one crisis, a chronic situation where so many the gaps are there because the crisis of freedom of expression on one hand and the crisis of respecting other on the other hand. Yes, and I would very much confirm what you said when you mentioned Kaplan and say, never the twain shall meet. Okay, no, we'll say East is East and West is West, a fact that no one can delete, but let us hope that the twain shall meet for a just world to be firm and neat. This is a ballad we must repeat tonight. So I'll ask, yes. Yes, sure.
I'm not sure all the participants.
Yes.
Maybe once.
ممكن ترجمة حد في عنده مشكلة في الترجمة. Do you have any problem with the session being conducted in English? في مشكلة? How many people needs translation? Could you raise your hand, please? Oh. Okay.
There's a logical.
Anyway, anybody needs translation? No. بالعربي؟ ما أنا قلت بالعربي الأول. في حد عايز ترجمة؟ كم واحد يعني؟ طب هو الأفضل إن ممكن نعمل ريكابتشيليشن في آخر السيشن. خايفين الوقت يضيع كلنا، لو الأغلبية كلها إنجليزي فهيبقى معلش ممكن نعمل لكم فيدباك بعدين بالنقاط الرئيسية، ها؟ لأن هيضيع وقت كتير في الترجمة. Let us ask our distinguished speakers, His Excellency, the British Ambassador, to take the floor.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Wageih, and I'd like to thank the Sawi Center for bringing us together this evening. And the issue is clearly a very important one, but I rather agree with Ahmed that it goes wider than the title, and certainly wider than the specific issue which I think sparked Dr. Wageih's study, which is the affair of the Danish cartoons. I think we're living in difficult times for those of us who care about the relationship between Islamic countries and countries of Europe, countries of the West. I think that I certainly wouldn't subscribe to theories about clashes of civilization or whatever, but there are a number of very complicating and difficult factors which have led to tensions within, it seems to me, a single civilization rather than a clash of civilizations. I think you can look at it in many ways, but the Prince of Wales was here 2 or 3 weeks ago and gave a speech at the Azhar, the theme of which was unity in faith, and his message was very much one of shared values, a common source for those values, a common source for the religions that we are affiliated to. And beyond that, I think you can say that in an era of globalization, we all have very similar experiences and very similar aspirations and very similar points of reference. We may react to them rather differently, but we have a shared experience. So we're all being brought more closely together. But then at the same time, you have factors which increase the tensions between ethnic groups, between religions, factors which are economic. I mean, you can only need to look at the economic disparity, perhaps, say, between Europe and its neighbors to the south and some of those to the east. Differences within our own societies, and this is another, I think, very important point, because one tends to look at this as if it was an international phenomenon that we're dealing with here, as between, say, Islamic countries and Western countries. But all of our societies now, whether we're talking about Britain or France or Spain or Germany or Egypt or Pakistan or Nigeria or Indonesia, are countries in which you have more than one culture, more than one religion. And therefore, for all of our governments, this issue is not just a foreign policy one, it is a domestic one. I was talking about the roots of tension. There are economic ones. Within our societies, there are sometimes economic gulfs that we have that need to be bridged. In France, in Britain, there are particular problems in relation to young Muslim communities often, where unemployment is higher than in the rest of society. And then it seems to me that there are ideological differences that we have to deal with. I mean, there are the differences which spring from the fact that some of us view religion very much as a personal matter, which tends to be the approach of most Europeans. And again, in Islamic societies, majority Islamic societies, the tendency is different. Faith is seen as something which is the basis of society and it's of public concern. There is, beyond that, the phenomenon which we all face and which my Prime Minister defined as being a clash within our common civilization rather than a clash between civilizations, which is generated by extremism, militant extremism, extremism that is prepared to resort to violence in order to impose its views on others. And all of our societies have faced that. The United States has faced it, Britain's faced it, Egypt has faced it, Russia has faced it, Indonesia has faced it, and so on. So these are all reasons, factors, which tend to produce, it seems to me, a heightened state of tension within our societies. And there are solutions to them. There are solutions in terms of economic development. There are solutions which diplomats find elusive to the sense of injustice, which I didn't mention, which is another factor, I think, in the tension. It's the injustice which stems from perceptions of unresolved conflicts such as Palestine, the ongoing conflict in Iraq, an injustice also which stems from differing privileges for different communities within the same society, whether it's Christians in Pakistan or people who feel disadvantaged in other ways, say, in Europe. So all these subjects, all these reasons for tension, all of them ones which in the long term solutions can be found to, but in the short term, as Dr. Wageih was suggesting, you need management. And management when you're faced with the particular sort of provocations and difficulties which we've seen in recent times. For example, during the course of the Danish cartoon affair. It seems to me that there are messages that are useful that can be put out by people of goodwill, by governments. Messages like the one the Prince of Wales is putting across, I think, about shared values, a common source, a smaller world, the common aspirations that we all share. There are messages which can be encapsulated when societies, groups come to understand each other better. And sometimes it's useful to have an intermediary. We, in this very place here in the Sawi, not so very long ago, had a group of British Muslims who came to talk about and represent an aspect of British life, but in the process, I hope, showed that Britain is a diverse and tolerant